a democratic process. We are a party that respect everybody. It's a fair opportunity that has been given. All that was fine till the time you had various party members and leaders who came out and openly supported Mallikarjun Kharge, indicating that this is somebody who has the backing of the Gandhis and thus is the favourable candidate. Doesn't that then completely negate the entire process of an election?
I fail to understand, if I am supporting somebody or A or B is supporting somebody else, on what grounds can you say that if somebody is backed by so and so? Each delegate has his own secret ballot to vote for, by the way, and each one to his own choice. And the party categorically said, if you want to campaign for a particular candidate, you have to resign from the post and you're free to do it. So each one to his own. I have my own choice. So it's okay. There's no compulsion. So people who are talking about rubber stamp or a backing, let them peep into their perspective first. Let them have a look at what they are doing in the country and what havoc they are playing around with. They are talking about rubber stamp and elections and selection. What are they doing there, ma'am? We have a record. We have a record of 137 years, ma'am. And everything is clear. You've seen how many people have contested. And I'm told the sixth time there have been election, who's contested and who's won. And it goes on. And anything, what is called...
No, the only question that I'm raising, and I'm not... Welcome back. CNN News 18's Arunama spoke to Interpol Secretary General on the security paradigm over the Russia-Ukraine war and New Delhi's pleas for intervention over Khalistani separatists. I'm leaving you with this conversation. Thanks a lot for watching. Whether to allow Russia to be part of Interpol or not is something that will be on the table when 195 countries and their delegates meet for the 90th General Assembly?
No, I mean, we are also discussing our international police cooperation in light of this conflict.
But this is also an issue?
In light of this conflict.
Right.
And of course, but again, Interpol's principle is neutrality, it is independence. We are a technical police organization. We have to focus on that part. And to leave politics for the politicians.
Right.
But we need to discuss impact, we need to discuss to which extent, for instance, criminals can exploit any crisis around the world. But of course, it's specifically important, of course, to stay to these principles, especially when member countries are in a conflict with each other. Of course, more than ever important to stick to the basic principles of Interpol.
Let me draw your attention to something that has been raised as a matter of concern ahead of this General Assembly, which is the issue of somebody who's been proscribed as a terrorist. The name is Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon. He's associated with an organization called Seek for Justice. Indian police organizations, including our National Investigation Agency, which deals with terrorism, has requested the Interpol for a red corner notice against him. And very recently, we have learned that Interpol has refused to issue that. Now, if you could set the record straight as to why this has happened, because a lot of people here in India are making all kinds of allegations, including saying that this is the hypocrisy of the West, that you don't really care for our terror concerns, us in the third world.
Yeah, I mean, I ask for your understanding that I cannot comment on individual cases, but the principle is, again, that Interpol has a kind of limited mandate. It is strictly forbidden for the organization to enter into any activity that might have an overwhelming, predominantly military, political, religious or racial content or meaning. We have to strictly stay away from that. And that sometimes leads to the fact that we decline a request from member countries for cooperation. I understand that that sometimes frustrates member countries, but it's important. That is the basic principle and part of the success story of Interpol, that we all respect that limited mandate, which doesn't mean that any decision for Interpol not to be engaged in a case is a judgment on the merit of a case or any decision taken by a court. No, that is not our business, but we have to check the compliance with our rules. Again, Interpol has a limited mandate, ordinary law crime, that is our focus, and anything else, member countries can use other channels if they need international police cooperation, others than Interpol, but that is the limited mandate which we have to respect, and this is part why, despite all the geopolitical difficulties during the last decades, Interpol was only growing because this principle was respected.
But I hear from Indian government sources that in this particular case, they could go in for an appeal. Does the Interpol constitution allow countries to go in for an appeal? Should Indian agencies be hopeful that in this case also an appeal could be met favorably?
I mean, we have a certain mechanism, of course, in place that member countries can be heard. We have a mechanism in place also that subjects of a notice, for instance, can reach out to an appeals body and can challenge the decision taken by Interpol to publish a notice. That framework exists and, of course, is being used. Yes, of course.
Good evening. The stray dog population menace has hit our cities once again, this time in Noida, which is in the Delhi National Capital Region, where a stray dog mauled and killed a 7-month-old baby inside a posh gated community. The child happens to be the child of a labourer who works in that compound, while residents of the community, some of them are visibly angry, as are ordinary residents of Delhi NCR. The question is also, if this were not a poor man's kid, wouldn't there have been outrage on the streets? Also, when will dog lovers accept the reality that some dogs are simply too dangerous and there is no place in a civilized society where a human being is killed at the hands of a rabid dog? But first, the story so far.
Massive protests in an apartment complex in Noida after a 7-month-old was mauled to death by a stray dog. The infant's parents are labourers and were doing construction work in the Lotus Boulevard Society. The baby was lying near them when a stray dog attacked the infant, even pulling out his intestines. The baby was rushed to hospital for emergency surgery, but he couldn't pull through. Now, residents have accused civic authorities of not doing enough to control stray dogs.
They are clearly angry with the Noida police and with the action which has not been taken by the Noida authority in the same, because continuously Noida has been in the reason for the dog attacks in the last few months now.
Noida authority officials have vowed to take stray dogs to shelters.
पहले हमने स्टरलाइजेशन शुरू किया, दूसरे पे फिर हमने ये शुरू किया कि अगर डॉग बाइट कोई डॉग जो है बार बार काट रहा है तो उसको जो है ले जाके शेल्टर होम में रखना और 1 महीने तक उसको सुधारना और उसके बाद वापस छोड़ना। चूंकि माननीय न्यायालय के ऐसी गाइडलाइंस हैं, हम कुत्ते को पूरी तरीके से कहीं से भी डिस्पोजेस नहीं कर सकते हैं।
But it's not just in Noida. Stray dogs are causing panic in Kerala as well. Multiple instances have come to light of stray dogs attacking bystanders, sometimes leading to deaths. So much so that the Kerala government has moved the Supreme Court seeking culling of dangerous strays. The news is not comforting when it comes to pet dogs either. Disturbing videos have come to light of pet dogs biting strangers in elevators in the presence of their owners. A kid in Ghaziabad got 150 stitches on his face after he was attacked by a pit bull in a park. Another scary video shows a pit bull clinging to a cow's jaws in Kanpur. So do we need stricter norms to deal with rise in dog attacks?
All right, is it time for stricter laws or perhaps even a relook at past judgments of courts, including the Supreme Court? Stray dog menace or mismanagement? You can call us at 0120-434-1895. I want to bring in our guests who are joining us this evening on the show. Vaibhav Chibbar is the president of the Resident Welfare Association of Lotus Boulevard Society, where this latest case happened. Gauri Molekhi is an animal rights activist. Dinkar Pandey is vice president of NEFOA. And Shahzada Sodhi is a dogophile. Let me start with Mr. Chibbar. You heard from the Noida authorities. They come to your society. They have made some assurances. They have said that treatment was meted out to this child. Unfortunately, the doctors could not save him. Are you satisfied with the response of the civic authorities, or do you believe that the civic authorities can do much more when it comes to the menace of stray dogs?
Thank you so much, but I'm not the president. I'm the resident of that place.
Okay, sure.
And we are absolutely satisfied. We are absolutely satisfied with the action plan, because when we complained about the incident, we had the authority guys coming, walking to the gate in next 1 hour. But the problem has been in our society for quite some time long, and we have been facing these problems. We have been raising complaints, but action on ground has not been taken on to the right time. So this time, because we lost a kid, we are all concerned about it, and we are really very, very in a sad situation, and we are trying to do whatever best is possible. But I think as as citizens, we have to be more responsible in our action plan to how do we actually deal this menace, because there are court rules and there is a society and there are animals. So we need to find a midway where adjustments can be made and everybody can live in peace and harmony.
Okay, I want to ask Gauri Molekhi, as per the animal birth control rules that were drafted by the centre a few years ago, it contravenes all state and municipal acts which mandate the removal of straying animals from streets and public places, both for the protection of people as well as animals. India has the highest number of rabies cases in the world. Around 33% of all rabies cases in the world happen in India, followed by Congo. According to a conservative WHO estimate, there are about 20,000 annual rabies deaths in India. Is it time, Gauri Molekhi, that we come together, sit down on the table and address this as a real problem, particularly in our urban centers? Why should 20,000 people die in our country because of rabies in this day and age?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. These are unnecessary deaths which can be prevented, and a regime had been brought in, recommended by the World Health Organization, which was adopted as a set of rules in India, not just a few years ago, but 22 years ago. The statutory responsibility of local authorities is to run a robust animal birth control program. If we just look at this incident that has happened in Noida very dispassionately and just to diagnose where and who went wrong, I'd say squarely it is the fault of the Noida authority. For the past 3-4 years, we've been telling them that the program is riddled with corruption and hardly any sterilization is happening and a lot of relocation is happening. People want dogs out of their societies. They're picked up and thrown somewhere else in some other locality where they fight for territory and aggression gets aggravated. This is a result of exactly that. It was a ticking time bomb, very unfortunate and avoidable situation. Only if we learn to mend our ways now and run a proper, robust, scientific animal birth control program, and not probably go back to the municipal corporation law era of the British, when Indians and dogs and whatever were not allowed in certain areas, and that did not solve the problem. I mean, during the municipal corporation laws, when they were enforced, did that solve the problem of dogs? No, it did not. For centuries, it did not, which is why for developing countries that have an urban solid waste problem, there are scavenging animals, and to get rid of them, one has to apply science. You cannot have an eye for an eye and let's kill all the dogs right now, or let's remove them and put them in some shelters. It's not going to be scientific. Moreover, the rules provide that if a dog is aggressive, then in the animal birth control center, it can be put under observation, which where it can either die of rabies, or if it mends its ways.
But Gauri Molekhi, why then is in a country like ours, the estimate of the number of dogs that have been sterilized is less than 10% out of a possible 60 million dogs across the country? Less than 6 million have been sterilized. Surely then you would agree that there is a problem of non-sterilized dogs, and particularly in urban centers like Delhi NCR, or you saw what happened in Kerala a few months ago. If you have a large number of non-sterilized dogs out there, surely it's an invitation to kill.
Zero resources by the center towards the animal birth control program. Municipal corporation not even understanding their duty, let alone trying to implement it properly, and state governments not monitoring the animal birth control program as has been directed by the Honorable Supreme Court. These are the gaps.
Okay,
if only
I've got a bunch of callers.
Resources,
I want to go to them first, and then I'll go across back to the rest of our guests. Mr. Kulamani Mishra is calling us from Bhubaneswar. Mr. Mishra, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Go ahead with your question, yes.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead with your question. I can hear you.
Actually, this dog menace is very distressing. And in our colony also, it is a colony of 210 families. The pet dog kept by the owners or tenants is also highly distressing and disturbing. When we are going inside the lift, one dog is coming from top floor, and it harms the new entrant inside the lift. So this has to be stopped. There are new rules to be framed, wherein a dog time should be fixed, but from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., dogs can be allowed inside the lift. Other times, dogs should not be allowed inside the lift.
All right, let me also go across to our next caller. Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra. Vimla is calling us from Pune. Good evening, ma'am. Go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, just about the stray dogs, it has become a nuisance actually. In each and every corner of the road, minimum 7 dogs will be waiting there. And when we go, small children, behind our children, they are running and they are just getting injured. So I don't know what will be the solution for this. It should be stopped, Because,
all right. Thank you for your call. Harish is calling us from Chennai. Harish, good evening. What is your question, sir?
I don't have a question. I have a solution for your problems. See, I'm 60 years old. For the past 38 years, I'm training dogs and I'm with dogs and I handle very rough dogs. The problem I've seen in all these years, all these dog attacks started after you people started castrating the dogs. That is one of the worst things you should do. They get frustrated. Don't stop that first. Second thing, what I advise you people, whatever the government or whoever the authority is, let the dogs be allowed to mingle in the public and let the children be trained on dogs and all this. Just a finger and your attitude can stop any dog from attacking anybody.
All right, Harish, thanks very much for that. Dinkar Pandey is Vice President of NIFOA. Shahzada Sodhi is also joining us. Dinkar Pandey, it comes back to the Animal Welfare Board of India, which has come up with rules which suggest that the victims in this case are really dogs. In fact, an AWI circular says that a person getting in the way of a dog can be perceived as an example of provocation. And citing these rules, oftentimes what happens is stray dog feeders frequently threaten residents, and therefore RWAs do not want to come in the way because they are often threatened with an FIR for criminal intimidation. Is it time that these rules are changed, Dinkar Pandey?
Yeah, right. And I'll talk about more comprehensive way, because everyone is talking about problem, right? Nobody is talking about impact. I'll cite some examples. There were some dogs in nearby society, I'll name it Infusion, some time ago. And by the time authority catches it, it took toll of at least 8 residents. Recently, one lady was attacked by a group of dogs and she was not provoking. She was mature enough and fit enough. She got spinal cord injury and she is on verge of losing her job. People, I'll take example, even my kid got attacked by cord, bitten from back, and she lost school for so many days. We are not talking about impacts. See, strays are not here to stay in your home, right? There are certain other spaces for them. We all are saying that dogs and men can go together. We are talking about dogs' rights. We are not talking about men's rights, human rights, right?
Okay.
In society, if you are going to parking, a group of dogs starts barking and charging towards you. How much capable you are to fight all those attacks together, right? So all the animal lovers should understand that we also are animal lovers. We are not against. But then there should be rules framed, and not only framed. There are so much rules by authorities, by Supreme Court, by government. But how many are being implemented on ground?
No, in fact, some are arguing that the rules are also coming in the way. The rules are also a problem, as indeed judgments laid out by the Delhi High Court and the Supreme Court. Let me ask Shahzada Sodhi this. In fact, earlier this year, in May of 2022, the Supreme Court, a 3-judge bench, had vacated a stay on a Delhi High Court order which said that stray dogs have a right to food and water and citizens have the right to feed them, which basically means it paves the way for community dogs to be fed either at private driveways or porches or spots that are designated in consultation with RWAs, which means it is incumbent on the local police to ensure that no caregiver or community dog feeder is harassed. Now, if these are the rules, if these are the judgments of the court, then surely, like I said, it's an invitation for these strays to kill.
First of all, it's very unfortunate that has happened in Noida. And the second thing is, as an animal lover, as a feeder, I feed dogs every day. And I'm also harassed every day by the public and the people where I go and feed. But over the years, I have understood that I have to make the changes. How can I feed the animals? And I'm not against the people as well. So I've chosen times and places where animals can be fed in a separate area or closer to the grounds or closer to the main road. So it doesn't get into the way of the people that are staying there. But if you say that you cannot have dogs in the public places, then where will they go? It has to be, you have to make animal feeders, the stakeholders in all these things. But we are harassed in a lot of ways. It's only when it goes beyond a point that we go and file an FIR, or we ask our people to come with us and to help us out. But it's very rare. It's most of the time 9 out of 10 people are harassing animal feeders, to be genuine.
No, but Mr. Sodhi, what will you say to the family that lost the 7-month-old child today? I mean, you're saying that dogs have to have rights to public places just like humans do. But what about modern cities across the world? You don't see stray dogs in New York or in London. But obviously, somebody is taking care of these strays. It's not like there are no strays in those cities. The point is, are we going to develop those facilities for strays in our country, or are we just going to say they have as much right to public places as we do?
No, I'm not saying. It's very sad that the family has lost a child. I'm not saying that it happened. It shouldn't have happened. But in India, it's not New York or London. No, we should first even think of this. India is not New York or London, that you are comparing our cities, our towns with those cities. I'm only saying that the animal feeders, because the blame is always put on animal feeders. In the last 10, 15, 20 years, I have understood that I need to make changes in the way I feed or I take care of the dogs.
Okay.
You have to select a place because wherever you start feeding the dogs, they feel that it is their territory. So anybody who comes there, they feel threatened, and whatever aggression is there. And obviously people also abuse the animals. So it's both ways, but in a way, animal feeders should also take care the way they feed the animals. And if they find that certain
I'm sure all of us are accustomed to scenes of dogs being fed right in front of society gates. I mean,
that is not correct.
And that is where the problem is, that if you are going to feed dogs right outside society gates, they're going to think that is their turf, and they're going to do whatever it takes to protect that turf. No, so let me get some more callers in, please, because I think our viewers across the country, whether it is in gated communities or outside urban centers, seem to have very, very strong opinions on this. Let me get Aarti from Noida. She's our next caller. Aarti, good evening, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I find it very, I am also an animal lover. But at the same time, it is just not acceptable, because either the government should own up the responsibility. If they are not ready to make any laws against it, then they should own up all these strays and make some kind of a shelter home where they can be left there. And what is there, this concept of territory? I mean, they have a territory, but human beings don't have a territory, which is very strange. I don't understand what emotional stress they will go through if they don't have a territory. I mean, we have more than 100 residents in our society who have been affected by their constant biting, sometimes dread even sending their kids to the society parks, because these suddenly they come chasing. And I heard on one of the channels, one lady was saying that an activist, then they vaccinated and they are neutered. We've done everything possible for that. And in fact, they are very, on sometimes they become so hostile to the kids, and a person who just goes little slow, and the people who have pets, they just, the smaller pets are attacked by some 6-7 of these strays sometimes at one time.
Okay, Aarti, thank you for your call. Let me also go across to Usha from Chennai, who's calling us. Good evening, Usha. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening. So I'm just watching your news. See, what I would like to say is, yes, as many people have just said, that human and dogs, the animals have to live together in society, no doubt. But then one major problem I find with many of these residents, I think people have to be more responsible also. Because they are dog lovers, of course, I understand. But the way they feed the dogs, outside in the society, outside the residence gate, on the road, behind, parked cars. I think these things should be avoided. We have to be more responsible. You please feed the dogs as someone says, at designated places, or in your porch, or maybe in your courtyard, but not on the streets, behind parked cars and all that.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much for your call. Retired Wing Commander Chandranshek Khar is also calling us. Wing Commander, go ahead, please, sir.
Yeah, Jacob, thank you very much. Kindly give me 3-4 minutes so that I want to say what I wanted to complete it. First of all, Jacob, I wanted to say that the animal welfare people are all fooling the public and to certain extent fooling the judiciary also by telling that most of the dogs are all vaccinated, they are all taken care of, and they are looked after well. Jacob, these stray dogs, the life is 15 years to 20 years for each dog. Okay, even if you vaccinate the dog, these dogs, the present population of 4 million dogs, are going to live with us for next 15 to 20 years. This is an undisputed fact. Okay, and then let us say I stay in Noida, and this is a big colony of about 3,000 flats. Okay, even if you take 10% of them, 300 people, let's say just the number of states, 300 people are feeding these dogs wherever they feel like, whenever they feel like. Okay, now these dogs are fed so much.
Okay.
They are so fat and they are so bulky and they have so much of energy, there is no way of spending it out. Okay, and also I'm sorry to say, Supreme Court and other court orders are also astute. They, in the defense forces, they always say, if you give an order, it should be feasible. It should be enforceable. Now the Supreme Court order says that you have to feed only in a particular place. You have to feed only at a particular time.
Yes.
Is it possible in a colony of 2,000 people, 3,000 flats, where about 5,000 to 6,000 people living, they just come out and throw the food anywhere they feel like? Who
All
is
right.
going to police them?
Okay,
Who is
Wing Commander,
going to
thank you
check
very
them?
much for your call. Let me also get in Manoj, who's our next caller. He's calling us from Delhi. Yes, Manoj. Yes, Mr. Manoj, go ahead.
Chandrasekhar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacob, hi. I'm a lawyer by profession,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very disheartened to see that the law, which is very clearly written, which is very clearly there, that people should feed the dogs at a designated place, it is hardly followed by the citizens.
Okay.
And it is not the police, not the authority, but the citizens which are making mockery of these rules. And the so-called animal activists and NGOs, they are the people, who are, creating nuisance.
All right.
Being
Thank you
a
very
lawyer-
much for your call. Let me ask Gauri Molekhi to respond to that. You heard a sampling of callers who are all saying that the problem is with the people who are feeding these strays. You go back to the Supreme Court rulings, it's very clear that it has to be in designated places. And you know from the experience that all of us have seen over the years, and particularly so during the pandemic and after, that, anywhere and everywhere the strays are fed. And that's the problem.
Okay, so I'm going to make 4 short points. One is that the rules are not made by the Animal Welfare Board of India. They're made by the central government and the parliament, right? So these are not rules that have just come up because people like dogs. They're based on the WHO's approved program for all developing countries, which are facing with a solid waste problem. We are not New York. Please don't compare us with New York. We are people who throw garbage in front of our homes. We have tons of garbage in our urban centers, and hence there are scavenging animals. You remove them in a Chairman Mao removing sparrow kind of way, and we'll call some natural calamity upon ourselves, like China gave itself the world's biggest famine. So we have to be scientific when we deal with animals. We cannot have these knee-jerk, unscientific, whimsical solutions for stuff. So that's my point number 1. The second is that feeding animals has its own benefits. If there are dogs in the neighborhood and if they are fed, they remain friendly, and it's easier to catch them for sterilizing and neutering them, and for various rounds of vaccination that happens later. It's not nice to have scared ferocious dogs in the neighborhood which are sick, and then it would spread more diseases and more threat of bites. Better to have designated places where animals are fed. Surely there should be discipline in that. Surely the Delhi High Court order has repeatedly said that feeding areas should be designated, and anybody who feeds animals on staircases or in front of gates or in parks is not correct, and it should be regulated. But I think the larger responsibility, statutory responsibility, falls on the local authorities to run a robust animal birth control program. Wherever we see it being run, it is riddled with corruption, or it's done in a haphazard, patchworky manner, no strategy, no application of mind. If you look at Goa, you were talking about rabies. Look at Goa since 2017, there's no rabies over there at all because of a proper animal birth control program that was being run over there. Same with Jaipur or Chennai. The rabies cases have completely gone because they run a proper animal birth control program. Now, Uttarakhand has done the same. Lucknow has a very good animal birth control program, but Noida authorities are rogue because it doesn't come under the urban development department, industrial development or whatever. So they have their own little problems due to which animal birth control takes a very low priority, and they only realize it when an unfortunate incident like yesterday comes up.
Okay,
So
let me get more
we can
callers
blame
in, ma'am.
feeders and civic
Rennie
society
Abraham
and whatever.
is joining us from Mumbai. Rennie Abraham, go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry,
Rennie, go ahead. Yes.
Zaka, I would like to cite here that we are actually trying to talk about a problem that keeps arising as and when there is an attack on a citizen. Correct. And things like that. The real solution seems to be something like setting up a helpline which will help identify. I mean, at an instant, there would be enough number of people calling in and saying, look, there is a local dog over here which is ferocious. It has got a history of attacking people, and trying to discriminate such stray dogs, because, just a old editorial thing of, when in doubt, cut it out is not the solution. But it would be more logical to have this. I mean, we have that for man-eating tigers. There is a process when there is too much of a conflict. So that is a simple thing. And secondly, the whole ecosystem that is existing in terms of, taking care of stray animals and all, it seems to have been totally bogged down or not functional at all. And the BMC, it's like a job the civic corporations do it like. Not with a laser-focused, targeted approach to ensure the problem is sorted out.
Okay, Rennie Abraham, thank you for your call. I've got a couple of more callers, and before we close the show, Inder is calling us from Gurugram. Inder.
Good evening, Zaka.
Good evening.
Sometime back, I was in Kashmir and traveling in my car, at least 20, 30 or almost 50 dogs attacked the car. I don't understand why these dog lovers simply talk about the love of dog, but human being has no right at all. It is so frightening when we are safely inside the car. I'm not talking about you're walking. People could not be walking on those streets at all. And I'm talking Srinagar proper, in a place called Batmalu, when I found that almost 50 dogs attacking one single car.
Sure.
It's so frightening. And then recently I heard a boy in Kupwara in Kashmir Valley was killed by a stray dog on the road. Why the hell in this country we should be full of stray dogs, whereas no other country or advanced countries don't have stray dogs?
All right, Inder, thank you for your call. Let me get a last couple of more callers. I'm completely running out of time. Amitabh is calling us from Noida. Amitabh, good evening, sir. Mr. Amitabh, are you there? All right, Vijay Singh from Noida is our last caller. Vijay Singh.
Yeah, Jaka, actually this talk about strays harming individuals or human beings, I think there are more cases of murders and rapes in this country. And what do you expect, that we stop people from going out or something like that? I mean, dogs are maybe 1 in a million that you hear these cases of people getting bitten, and you make such a hoo-ha about it. All your media channels go on as if the world has come to an end. It's so sad. These poor creatures, they just manage to survive on the streets. And these activists who are anti-animals or hate animals, they go on and talking about 50 dogs attacking them in the car and all that. I mean, this is quite ridiculous of all this.
All right, Vijay Singh, thank you for your call. I'm going to give Dinkar and Webb the final word. Dinkar, the Delhi High Court had ruled recently that animals have a right under the law to be treated with compassion, respect and dignity, and that their protection is the moral responsibility of each and every citizen. What about the rights of those? Let me ask Dinkar, please. The rights of the 7-month-old baby who died today, who was mauled. Does he or she not have any rights?
With due respect to all the judgments and everything, I think we all are forgetting about human rights, right? And there is one famous politician around. And if you stop someone from feeding inside society, in your parking, in your basement, then that lady calls everyone and threatens about FIR and consequences. These kind of things are going on, right? Rules are on paper, on ground nothing is there. Authority helplines are not working. The NGOs partnered by them are not coming to sterilize or vaccinate or anything. On ground, situation is worse than what it is being depicted.
All right.
If you live in any society around the newly developed area, strays are all over they are attacking Delhi. It is not coming in newspaper Delhi, right? But in media, things come only when such unfortunate incident happens, like
Correct.
Yesterday. Right?
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Dinkar Pandey, Weber, Shahzada, and of course Gauri Mauluki for joining us. This is a continuing problem. Today it was seen in Noida. We had pictures a few days ago from Kerala. This is a problem that our urban planners, our civic authorities, even our animal lovers have to come to terms with and have to deal. Yes, the court has laid down guidelines that there should be designated places that these strays should be fed. But are we following that? Who is implementing that? Who is regulating that? These are questions that are worth asking. That's a wrap. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, hello and welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Anusha Soni. The Hindi imposition debate is back. The Tamil Nadu Assembly adopted a resolution moved by Chief Minister MK Stalin against Hindi imposition, quote-unquote, by the union government. Now, the resolution has urged the union government not to implement the recommendation of the Parliamentary Committee on Official Languages. You remember that the committee headed by Home Minister Amit Shah has recommended that the medium of instruction in higher education institutes such as IITs should be Hindi in the Hindi-speaking states and other local languages in the rest of the country. The use of English should be optional. That's the vision that has come forward from the union government. This has kick-started a political storm in the state of Tamil Nadu as the BJP staged a walkout after the resolution was passed. Now, should this entire issue be viewed from the prism of imposition? Or is this about India having one of its own language as a link language, like the union government argues? Is Hindi being promoted at the cost of other languages, like DMK argues? We discuss all these aspects in the next 30 minutes.
Our leader has already said we will always oppose Hindi imposition. We will continue to do that. Yeah, it's not in our hand.
The agenda of the BJP is to create an Hindi Hindutva state, and they have been very steadfast in pursuing this vicious agenda.
Well, the Parliamentary Committee has made certain recommendations, and all these recommendations have met with certain kind of criticism, especially in states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala. What are the recommendations which have been made and what is the criticism around it? Let's take you through them point by point. Now, this is the important Parliamentary Committee which has made this recommendation. First, that correspondence by the central government officers and ministries should be in Hindi or in other regional languages. The union government wants that English should be optional and India should have one of its own languages as a link language. Now, DMK puts the non-Hindi people in a disadvantageous position. It also says that people who don't know Hindi will have to learn it. The argument of the DMK is also that it can't impose Hindi as a language of instruction in centers of learning, especially in IITs or other institutes run by the union government. Medium of instruction in IITs in Hindi-speaking states to be Hindi. More importantly, these are technical and non-technical courses, including an MBBS course that you remember has been recently transliterated in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Hindi language should be given a category status, which means that in the absence of any other link language, Hindi is the link language, like the case is with English right now. Non-Hindi speaking population will be made a second-class citizen. This has been the criticism traditionally coming in from the Dravidian politics as far as the emotive language issue is concerned. Attempts to impose Hindi are impractical and divisive in nature, and they have often created huge political scenes in the politics of Tamil Nadu, Kerala and various other states. Invitation letters, speeches, moderation by the centre should be in Hindi, and
The union government has time and again said that we're not promoting Hindi at the cost of regional languages, but we need to have one of our own language as a linked language. So those are the broad points that we're talking about. But is this about imposition, or this is about some kind of parochialism that has seeped into the debate? That's the broader question that we are asking tonight. That should this entire issue be viewed from the prism of imposition, as DMK is arguing in its resolution that was moved on the Assembly, or this is mere parochialism? Let me cut across live to my colleague Purnima Murli, who's been tracking all the developments from the state of Tamil Nadu, and she'll tell us about what exactly is happening, what the politics of this entire issue really is about. Purnima, a resolution was moved today, it was adopted. BJP staged a walkout, not the first time that this brand of politics we are witnessing in Tamil Nadu. Tell us what transpired today and how, what was the tone and tenor? How stiff is the opposition coming in from DMK, especially after Home Minister himself made certain comments?
Well, the DMK wants to bank on its stance on the language issue. Remember, last week itself, MK Stalin in a statement had launched a scathing attack on the centre, followed by a massive protest on Saturday by his son Udayanidhi Stalin. And today also, MK Stalin yet again saying that English should be the link language and not Hindi, and that the central government in every given opportunity is trying to impose Hindi. This is something that was on expected lines, considering that language has always been an emotive and an electoral issue in Tamil Nadu. Therefore, DMK now trying to rake up the issue, while the BJP said that Hindi is not being imposed. It's only in Hindi-speaking states that Hindi will be used as a medium of instruction, and the DMK is only doing so to gain political mileage, staging a walkout. However, interestingly, the AIADMK was split into two. The faction led by Edapadi once again staged a walkout, saying that DMK is doing this to appease the people of Tamil Nadu. And O Pannirselvam, who has so far been seen as someone who's very close to the BJP, was there at the Assembly and welcomed the move by the Tamil Nadu government. So a lot of interesting developments took place. While on the one hand, we've known DMK always being the first to raise an objection to Hindi imposition, followed by O Pannirselvam and other allies of the DMK who also adopted the resolution. But BJP and the Edapadi-led faction walked out just before the resolution was in fact tabled in the Assembly today.
Purnima, very briefly from you, not the first time that we're witnessing something like this. When the draft national education policy was discussed in this country, and there was a language formula that the union government wanted to come up with, even that time, we had seen a stern opposition coming in from the southern states, including the state of Tamil Nadu.
Absolutely, Tamil Nadu government sticks to its stand of a two-language formula. They want English and Tamil to be the medium of language here in Tamil Nadu, and in other states they want the regional language to be the second language, and Hindi only in Hindi-speaking states. So DMK once again sticks to the two-language formula, and at any given opportunity, whenever there is a development from the central government, DMK wants to ensure that they try to raise the issue by saying that don't force yet another Hindi imposition here, because since the 1960s we've been standing here against Hindi imposition, and that stance will continue in the coming months and coming years as well, is something that the DMK has made it very clear time and again.
Purnima Murli reporting all the details from the city of Chennai and giving us the pulse of politics and what's happening on that entire emotive issue. Thank you, Purnima, for getting us all the details. Opening up this question to our guest as well, Professor R. Srinivasan, who's the State General Secretary of Tamil Nadu BJP, is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Ratan Sharda, who's an RSS researcher, also an author, is also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Salim Dharanidharan, who's the spokesperson of the DMK, is also with us on the show. And Mr. Gokul Chandran, who's a political analyst, is also joining us on the broadcast. I'm coming to you first, Salim, and I want to get in a word from you. Why is it that whenever the union government says that we want Hindi as the link language, as an alternative to English, it is seen some kind of attack on a regional language? The union government time and again clarifies that we will not develop Hindi at the cost of regional languages, but a language like English, which is not really an Indian language, should not be our link language. What is the problem with that argument?
See, if you look at the protest in the 1965 itself, the DMK protested that
English should be one of the official languages and Hindi should not be the national language. And we go by the principles of our leader, Aranya Ranna, who says, why do you need a big door for a big dog and a small door for a small dog? Which means we speak Tamil in Tamil Nadu, in Kannada they speak Karnataka, in West Bengal they speak Bengali, in Maharashtra they speak Marathi, probably in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh they speak Hindi.
Yeah.
So you speak Hindi in your provinces, we speak this languages, so we speak English whenever we meet people from other states. So why do we need to learn third language? So what you're trying to say is we should learn three languages, that is English, Tamil and Hindi, and people in Uttar Pradesh will learn only one language, that is Hindi. That is why we say this such a decision would treat the rest of the states as second-class citizens. That is, non-Hindi speaking states will be treated as second-class citizens. That is our problem. For example, this will also be an economic disaster. Why an economic disaster? Because most of the white-collar jobs are in English. The IT boom in India happened because we spoke English as second language or as first language. The BPO boom happened because we had a huge population that could speak English.
No, but that being said, Salim, that being said, the objection that you have to the recommendations of the panel is not because there are economic consequences. You rightly pointed out the political context to this entire emotive issue of languages in this country.
No, I was also coming to that.
No. Let me frame my question. What I want to understand from you is that if there is an option to English, and Tamil continues to be used where it was used earlier, or there are courses in fact which would be taught in Tamil, then what is the big problem? What is the issue about it? If Tamil continues to be the language what it is right now, in fact continues to thrive and grow, and you also have a link language which is your own country's language.
No. The problem is if you have union governments working in Hindi, will anyways be a second-class citizens, because for many people in the northern states, Hindi is their mother tongue. So for us, it will be a second or third language. So we'll anyways we'll not be able to do as well as them in this language. And another main issue is, I'll tell you. I think let me complete when I make this point.
Please go ahead.
When you're forcing Hindi in central universities such as IITs, AIIMS, or NITs or IIMs, let's say then what will happen is people from Tamil Nadu may not go and study in Kanpur. If you look at IIT Kanpur, 50% of the students are from south of India.
Yeah.
So will they go and study there? They wouldn't go and study there. So basically, India is composed of ethno-linguistic based states. So by imposing one single language, you're only destroying the unity. So India's unity lies in diversity.
You've made your point. I want to bring in other people as well.
I want to make one more important point. Just 1 second.
30 seconds.
Another point is most of the research is not done in Hindi language. So if you can't teach them.
No, but I had the same conversation. I had the same conversation, Salim, with one of the ministers of Madhya Pradesh, where the first MBBS course is being transliterated. And what was clarified there was that the textbooks will continue to be available in English as well. If there is a student who wants to study in Hindi, he or she will have access to those textbooks, and these are the same textbooks of English authors, Indian authors, which are prescribed in the syllabus. So it's only an option that the government is providing. I want to bring in Professor R. Srinivasan also into this discussion. Professor Srinivasan, the argument which is being made by the DMK spokesperson here is that culturally and economically, this could be a disaster. Because one of the key facets of talent from India is that we speak multiple languages and we speak English very well. Our courses are taught in English, and that is why we get recognition from across the country. If somebody from the state of Tamil Nadu goes to IIT Kanpur, he or she doesn't want to be treated, quote unquote, like a second-class citizen. Answer that criticism.
No, DMK has become a laughing stock in Tamil Nadu now. Because these language politics, it's first time it's an emotive issue. For the 80 years, it has been an issue in Tamil Nadu. But fortunately, it's not an election issue in Tamil Nadu. When you were saying that it is an electoral issue, you stand corrected, but it's not an election issue. It's, of course, a political issue.
I said it's an emotive issue, not an electoral issue.
It's a political issue. It's not an electoral issue. In no elections, DMK has contested the election on the basis of any language issue. So now what the standing committee, the standing parliament standing committee for official language, whether the DMK has seen they have studied the papers completely, whether all these things have been discussed in parliament. The standing committees, they have been giving suggestions for long years. Several standing committee recommendations are pending. The government is to accept it, the parliament is to discuss it. Then only it comes into implementation. And what is wrong in Hindi-speaking states, if any student of medicine or engineering, if they pursue their higher studies in their mother tongue, what's the problem of DMK? If Tamil Nadu The Tamil is supreme language.
The argument in all fairness that DMK was making just few minutes ago, the spokesperson was making, is that if there is a student from Tamil Nadu and he goes to Kanpur, and if suppose this is a course which is taught in Hindi, or one of the options is Hindi, he or she may just feel left out. They may not have the same access to the resources like a Hindi speaking student may have.
No, the same thing will happen to the North Indian students also. No, if they pursue their higher studies in Chennai IIT, if all the syllabus and the medium of instruction is in Tamil, then how can they pursue? So these are all once. How can we discuss now? Once the Parliament Committee recommendations it comes out, then only we can discuss this. So far, you and me, either the DMK or BJP, we are not completely aware of the recommendations which is the Standing Committee has made so far. Without that, why this hurry? We are very panicked.
Okay, Mr. Ratan Sharda, I want you to come into the discussion, and you've researched a lot on this issue as well. But I want to understand from you, from the cultural, political prism and the history of Tamil Nadu and how the language wars, quote unquote, have defined the history of North and the South. Why is it that in a country like India, where we have linguistic diversity, that diversity continues to be our strength, but on issues like this, when we want one of our own languages to be a link language, it divides us, in polity at least?
This is the petty-minded politics of the DMK.
Let Mr. Ratan Sharda respond. Yes, Mr. Sharda.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
See, I would just like to share with you that the similar circular with same directions was released in 2011, signed by Mr. P. Chidambaran, and in the government 2011, where DMK was a member of the government. What did DMK do at that time? Can I please find out? Because this is purely political, that's why I want to bring out. Similarly, no other state has a problem in NEET and EET for medical test except Tamil Nadu. Why? There is no answer, easy answer. These people want 10% imposition of 10% English knowing people, where there are only 0.1% people actually treat English as their first language, to be imposed on every other language. You know what is the ratio of language speaking in India? Hindi 43.6, Bengali 8%, Marathi 6.86%, Telugu 6.7%, English 0.1%. So they want people to be inconvenienced by a small percentage of people who seem to be elite, who will rule over others. So they are ready to have a foreign language, but not Indian language. This goes back to the original DMK, DK politics, which started with a very fake theory of Aryan-Dravid divide, which started a fake theory of Aryan-Dravidian history, where they are now saying even Chola was not Hindu, etc., etc. These are the people so rational that they are happy with Murugan, Lord Murugan, but they are not happy with Shiva and Ganesh.
Mr. Sharda, there's one more argument that I want you to address. One more argument, and you can go on, sir. You can go on. One thing.
Does he know? Just one sentence.
Sure. Go ahead.
Does he know that all the toppers in UPSC exam, IIT, IIM, all are non-English speaking? Please go and check. Check the population of people who are selected in IIT, IIM, etc. in terms of English and non-English speaking people. Because people who think in native language are always better than people who think in foreign.
That's what research has indicated. The French are very proud of their language. So are Germans. So are Dutch. We have many languages to be proud of. But Mr. Sharda, address one more argument, and then I'll bring in Mr. Gokul Chandran also on the same point. I think somewhere beneath Tamil versus Hindi, or the southern languages versus this Hindi debate, is the argument of cultural imposition. That if Hindi is the link language, then somewhere there would be some kind of cultural imposition coming in from the north. Address that argument head on, sir.
First, the local languages, beginning with English and with all other regional language, are not being imposed. They are simply being offered as an option. Is it wrong to offer option to poor people who cannot study in English? Do you think all people in the rural or the remote areas study in Christian schools or English speaking schools, or are they studying as the local language? So why do you want these people to be at disadvantage when they want to become doctors or engineers? What is wrong with the local language? And after all, India was a big engineering scientific power when there was no English in India. The biggest scientific powers in the world today, like Germany, Japan, Israel, are non-English speaking. So this fake myth of English making people great, tell me, why did English speaking people never got a Nobel, never got any international recognition? So whether Tamil or anything is equally good. What is wrong with allowing people to study in the native language? Today's English, Hindi, option, tomorrow it will be Tamil option. Everybody doesn't want to go to USA. Those who want to go to USA are welcome to improve their English. But does that mean I can? How many doctors actually speak English with their patients?
No,
Please
and
tell me.
I know a lot of friends who wanted to go to Germany and had to learn German because the courses there were taught in German.
People go to Ukraine to
yes.
study Ukrainian language. They are happy to learn Chinese, Ukrainian, but not Hindi or any other language. That's very funny. It only shows utter animosity that DMK creates in the society.
Okay, Mr. Gokul Chandran, please come in on this point. And Mr. Ratan Sharda is saying that this divide has been a very, carefully crafted politics, and it has not benefited us as a nation. If we are willing to learn German, Spanish, Italian and various other languages because we want to, why shouldn't we be more open to a language like Hindi, which is spoken by more than 40% of this country and perhaps can be a link language for a multilingual country like India?
Yeah, good evening, friends. See, we missed out a point. As Mr. Sharda pointed out the division, I will bring out the real division where it is. See, the committee which has recommended to the president, the deputy chairman of the committee has clearly said that whatever the news coming out in the media is true, but that is only for few states.
Yes.
That is the list A states, list B states.
Yeah, because the official report has to come out yet.
Yeah. So what you are doing, you are dividing India again as list A, list B. So people who are living in the Hindi-speaking states, that is Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, etc., and the southern state are being divided again here. So just imagine just see the practical difficulties. So someone from Tamil Nadu or Kerala who doesn't know Hindi and who has cleared his IAS, and when he goes to serve in the North Indian state, that is the list A state, and if the official communication is in Hindi as suggested by the committee, then tell me how this IAS officer or IPS officer or any central government servant is going to follow the orders or follow the procedures because he doesn't know Hindi. And there is no option because it is clearly said that Hindi will be the only communicative language in central government offices in list A states. Then how someone from south going to work in north will understand it or follow it, or he can implement something or understand the real issue is. That is what I am telling again. The BJP, what BJP is trying to do is dividing India in the basis of language, list A, list B, north, south, etc. And see what will be the plight of the condition who learn MBBS in Hindi, and if they want to go out and serve in some other nation, they will never get an opportunity. The first thing they will ask is, if you don't know something even in English, let it be any country.
But Mr. Chandran, the course which is taught in Hindi at a Madhya Pradesh university is a transliteration. All the technical terms will continue to be in English. All the textbooks which are prescribed will be transliterated. And students who want to refer to these textbooks in English are free and open to do that. Only students who are not comfortable in English, because it's not their first language, are free to access these textbooks in their mother tongue, in Hindi. That's the clarification that has come up.
No, you just tell me the transliteration. If I ask you what is your name and it is written in Hindi, if you don't understand what is your name, then how are you going to answer? You can read what is your name in Hindi because it is transliterated in Hindi as what is your name. But then if you don't know the meaning of what is your name, then how are you going to learn it?
No, so Mr. Chandran, so the entire objection to Hindi imposition is only about the dynamics of it, or this is more than the dynamics of the problems you are going to have and comfort and discomfort of people, or there is a larger political and cultural reason why you have states like Tamil Nadu and DMK opposing Hindi as the link language, because I think there is more than comfort and discomfort. It's a largely cultural political issue.
See, because the states like Tamil Nadu is going to lose out, because the people from Tamil Nadu, the students from Tamil Nadu, the employment seekers from Tamil Nadu will lose out eventually because they don't know Hindi. When they're being recruited for or interviewed for some central government job, when they see you don't know Hindi, you cannot read Hindi, you cannot speak Hindi, you cannot write Hindi, then obviously then you will be considered as an outsider. You will be considered as a third-class citizen, telling that this guy doesn't know Hindi, then how can he work in a central government?
Okay, I want to bring in the DMK spokesperson on the broadcast into the discussion. Salim, I'm coming to you. The argument which is being made by certain people here is, and in the public domain against DMK, is that you rake up this emotive issue for your political benefits. You're dividing people. BJP is not dividing people. That's what they're arguing. Respond to that.
No, I think it's BJP that is polarizing people. Initially, they used to polarize in the name of communalism. Now, since there is huge price rise, inflation, unemployment, so on and so forth, they want to now bring in the language issue because 230 seats are in the Hindi belt. So this is predominantly their vote bank. So they want to convince their vote bank. Tamil Nadu DMK is doing a very good job. In fact, ease of doing business from 17, we moved to place 3 in India.
But Salim, NEET has been a very emotive issue in the state of Tamil Nadu. I've seen multiple cases coming in the Supreme Court as well. The unfortunate student suicides. Let me finish. I'll give you time. The unfortunate student suicides we have seen have been a huge problem as well. There are problems with English as well. But you continue to defend English as a link language, but there's a problem with Hindi. That's what critics are arguing against you. Respond to that.
See, as I said, we don't have any problem if a university in Gujarat funded by Gujarat money is teaching in Gujarati or a university in West Bengal teaching certain courses in Bengali with their money. The problem is the union government imposing Hindi over any other language. That is the problem. What we want is all the languages, the 22 languages in Article 8 should be treated on par. We don't want the union government to enforce any language. So even if, let's say, Uttar Pradesh, the state government is teaching in Hindi, it's no problem. In Tamil Nadu, we have engineering course in Tamil. That's not a problem. The problem therein lies with the union government imposing, saying that there will not be any English language for
But don't you think,
exams.
Salim, in a country as diverse as ours, we have had a language which were brought by the colonizers to this country. It's time that we have one of our own languages as a link language that perhaps everybody can use. I mean, doesn't that idea appeal to you?
You know what the irony is? The irony is Hindi is the only unique language in the world where the word Hindi in itself comes from Persian. In fact, the spoken Hindi, the Hindustani has about more than 50% Persian words. So that being said, not more than 40% of the people, if I have to remove dialects, not more than 30% of the people have Hindi as a mother tongue. Right? So when earlier speakers said, they were comparing to Germany and France. I've lived in France and I've lived in Germany. I speak fluent German. But the point is not that. The point is we are not a homogeneous country. We are ethno-linguistic country with heterogeneous people. That is the difference. That is why we have a problem with this present union government, because they think India is a homogeneous country. One language, one religion, one culture, which is not true. This diversity, unity in diversity is which defines India. By trying to homogenize, you're only dividing the country.
Mr. Radan Sharda, is the attempt to homogenize a diverse culture? That's what DMK is arguing.
I'm so amused. These people the earlier starters of DK movement, who collaborate with British, who believe the British are the people who actually liberated them, today says Hindi is a foreign language.
So stop going into history.
So they are fine with a foreign language like English, which is spoken by 10%, but not with 43% or all other states who have no problem with Hindi or any other link language. Does he know when a Tamilian goes to any IT company in or outside India, what is the language of communication? Has he ever checked with the local, the Tamilian friends? He will not know that because his agenda is different. As I asked him, just a moment. 2011 circular of UPA government, exactly same language. Did you object? Please answer. DMK was part of the government. Did it resign at that time? No, sir. NEET. No state has a problem except Tamil Nadu. So when you say multifarious language, are you saying when this government tries to bring every language at par, says every regional language must be taken into language, must be used for higher education? What is your problem? Only Tamil has a problem? Why no other regional language? They want their language to nurture, to be promoted. It is not done. 3-language formula was brought in by Pandit Nehru for India at that time. Did DMK go and try to build Tamil schools in North? No. Nobody treated 3-language formula properly. That is the reason today there is a problem. So when this government says that let us promote every regional language, only you have a problem. So this kind of
Salim, respond to that.
Work.
Are these arguments which are built only to rake up emotive issues? The 3-language formula, as Mr. Sharda is pointing out, is not new. Historically, there have been various leaders and prime ministers who have proposed this. The idea of a link language is not new. Having an Indian language is a link language. DMK, is that the only party which has a problem?
No, I think there was protest. There are protests all over India now. Karnataka, there was a protest. JDS had protested. There was protest in West Bengal. There's been protest in Kerala as well. In fact, I think you should learn history. DMK was the only reason why Hindi is not made the national language. That is only an official language. It's because we protested in 1965, and only because of DMK protested, the former Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru gave up imposing Hindi on the states. So we had always protested. Whether we are in power or in coalition or we are in opposition, we have always protested imposition of Hindi. DMK does not speak one thing when we are in power, one thing when we are not in power. Our ideologies are always the same. Right?
British.
And again with NEET. I'm not saying NEET is is anti-social. This is not, DMK is not saying this, but research says this. There's a beautiful books are being written by Harvard professor called Tyranny of Merit, where he with data says how entrance exams as such are anti-poor. Tamil Nadu has 4 doctors per 1,000, whereas Gujarat has 1 doctor per 1,000. India has about 0.8 doctors per 1,000. The 4 doctors per 1,000 in Tamil Nadu is on par with OECD countries average.
Well,
so
all I can say, Salim, that
right?
you know, while the union government may have a good intention that, you know, there should be an Indian language that should be a link language, but the politics of it, the sheer diversity of this country, and various other factors that different panelists have pointed out today about the inconvenience many students may face, are the factors that any government of the day will have to take into account. Professor R. Srinivasan Ratan Sharda, Mr. Salim Dharanidharan and Gokul Chandran, thank you gentlemen for joining us on the broadcast. We hope that the recommendations of the panel are debated in an intellectual atmosphere rather than the sharp political polarizations that we have seen. With that, it's a wrap. Shivani joins you on the other side.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. There is no end to targeted killings in Jammu and Kashmir. 2 days after Puran Krishan Bhatt, a Kashmiri Pandit, was shot dead by terrorists, 2 non-local labourers from Uttar Pradesh have now been killed in a targeted grenade attack in Shopian. Manish Kumar and Ram Sagar are in danger of becoming mere statistics in the long list of targeted, bigoted terror attacks and killings in Kashmir, where local politicians have a long history of blaming India while giving clean chits to terror factory of Pakistan, where they keep singing the old tune of Kashmiri aspirations and identity as if that justifies killing innocents. Now, within 24 hours, cops have arrested 2 terrorists in connection with the latest killings. According to Shopian police, one of the terrorists is identified as Imran Bashir Ghani. He's a hybrid terrorist of the Lashkar-e-Toiba terror outfit. But the challenge is also quite clear. While India has broken the back of Pakistan nexus and terror groups' presence in the valley, hybrid terror is turning out to be a monster difficult to slay. What can India do? We will take that to our guests in just a bit. But first, I want to show you more of how these killings have become a low-cost, easy way out for frustrated terror groups wanting to stall the irreversible march of Kashmir to a new direction. 3 innocent men have been killed, targeted just this week in Kashmir. Just yesterday, Manish Kumar and Ram Sagar, 2 non-local labourers, as I mentioned, they've been killed by launching a grenade over them while they were sleeping. Can you imagine? Just 2 days before that, Puran Krishan Bhatt, a Kashmiri Hindu, was shot dead by terrorists. Another brutal targeted killing, one in long line of many, and I'll show you why. This is a clear strategy shift and a trend visible since last year. In October 2021, you would remember, 4 innocents were killed in separate attacks, creating widespread panic. Deepak Chand, a Kashmiri Pandit teacher, Satinder Kaur, a Sikh school principal, Makhanlal Bindru, a prominent Kashmir Pandit chemist, you would remember, Virendra Paswan, a street vendor from Bihar. All of these were killings, and very well-chosen, targeted killings of people who either do a certain kind of job or people who are known in society. Therefore, spread panic amongst the minorities and the non-locals in the valley. Then in May 2022, earlier this year, 3 more killings in 1 month. Rajni Bala, Kashmiri Hindu teacher who was shot dead in Kulgam. Rahul Bhatt, a government employee who was shot dead in Badgam. Ranjit Singh, Kashmiri Pandit, killed in a grenade attack. Again, all of these, if you look at the people who are being targeted, it is quite clear that they are being chosen, which is why these are being termed targeted killings. June earlier this year, Vijay Kumar, a bank manager, was shot dead in Kulgam. Clear message against central scheme employees being rehabilitated in the valley, people who come to the valley either as labourers, workers to earn daily wages, or who work, especially in some of the remote areas. They want them to be made to feel unsafe, and many of them do. August 2022, not so long ago, Sunil Kumar, another Kashmiri